Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro natural physique athlete. Today I'm going to be giving you a full 5-day hypertrophy program based on the body part split. The body part split, or the bro split, is one that you haven't seen me cover yet, but I've gotten quite a few requests to show how I would set one up. So today I'm going to do just that. A bro split is one where you basically train one or two muscle groups in each day. And I think the main defining feature is that each muscle group is trained directly only once per week. Bro splits have been around for a long time in bodybuilding. And today I'll be walking you through a full program just to illustrate what you should be thinking about if you're following a bro split. I'll start off with a program walkthrough where I share everything you need to know to run the program yourself, including exercises, sets, and reps. Then we'll talk about the weekly setup, or how I like to split the days up throughout the week. And finally, we'll talk about the pros and cons of the body part or bro split. Note that this is not the first split that I would recommend to most people, so you'll definitely want to pay attention to the pros and cons section at the end. Okay, let's do a program walkthrough. So this is Dr. Swole's 5-day body part split program. It's set up with low volume, so well designed for a beginner or someone who responds well to low volume training. We have chest and ab day, back day, shoulders and calves, arms, and leg day. Here are the exercises, and there are the sets and reps. Down here are the total number of sets for each workout, so you have an idea of workout length. And down here we have our total weekly set volumes. And you can see that we have a relatively low set count for each muscle group. Starting off with chest and ab day, we kick it off with barbell bench press for the chest, 3 sets of 5 to 8. After that we have weighted dips, which I count for chest and triceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Note that if you have difficulty with dips, you can always start with an assisted dip machine, or you can use bands to help yourself. As you get stronger, you can hang plates from a weighted dip belt. Next, we have machine incline bench press for the chest, 3 sets of 8 to 12, and we finish off our chest training with cable flies, 2 sets of 10 to 15. Cable flies are a very versatile exercise, and you can use them to target different parts of your chest. I've designed this intending for you to just do them in a neutral manner, that is to just target your entire chest. Finally, we have ab training, and we have 3 trisets. And when I say triset, I mean doing 3 different exercises in a row with no rest in between, taking a break and counting that as 1 set. I'd recommend having at least the first 1 or 2 exercises in your triset being one that allows for progressive overload. That is, having weight added that you can increase over time. So something like hanging leg raises, weighted crunches, or weighted rope crunches. Next, we have back day, and we start this off with the deadlift. You'll see that I typically count the deadlift as a glute and hamstring exercise, but it does involve the back through the erector spinae muscles indirectly. So we can count it as a back exercise as well, and I've placed it here strategically to increase our frequency of leg training. Then we have the barbell row for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10, followed by weighted chin-ups, 3 sets of 6 to 10. And for these weighted chin-ups, I'd recommend using a supinated grip, that is palms facing towards you. And the reason I recommend this is that when you have a supinated grip, you will have higher activation of your biceps. And in this way, your back day will give you an indirect pulse of bicep training. You'll see this becoming a common theme in my programming approach for the bro split, basically trying to carefully choose my exercises to increase my training frequency. Then we have cable rows for the back, 3 sets of 8 to 12, and finally lat pull downs, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Next, we have shoulders and calves. We started with the barbell overhead press, 3 sets of 5 to 8. Notice that the overhead press and our bench pressing movements on chest day also involve the triceps. So the triceps are actually getting trained 3 times per week in this program. Next, we have barbell upright rows for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 12. Following that, dumbbell lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 12, and cable lateral raises, 4 sets of 10 to 15. Finally, we have standing calf raises for the calves, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Since we only have a few sets of calf and ab training, I really want you to go hard on these sets. That is, push these to failure and add some intensity techniques as well, like drop sets. Next, we have arm day, and we start up with our close grip bench press, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and I count this for chest and triceps. Close grip bench press is an awesome triceps builder, but you'll see that I place this here deliberately to give me a second pulse of chest training. Then we have hammer curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and you can superset your close grip bench press with your hammer curls. Then easy bar curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12, and you can superset these with easy bar skull crushers for the triceps, 2 sets of 8 to 12. The nice thing about having an arm day is that you can superset your bicep and tricep work. These work really well together in antagonist superset pairs. Since your biceps are resting while your triceps are working, and vice versa, you can fit your training into less time without sacrificing performance. Then we have cable press downs for the triceps, 3 sets of 10 to 15. And again, you can superset these with cable Bayesian curls. Basically, you stand in front of the cable stack with your arm actually behind your body. This puts a stretch on the long head of your biceps. Our last day here is legs, and we start off with squat for the quads, 3 sets of 5 to 8. Then we have leg press, also for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Following that, we have dumbbell walking lunges. I count these for quads and glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Finally, we have leg extensions for the quads, 3 sets of 10 to 15, and leg curls for the hamstrings, 3 sets of 10 to 15. You'll see that I like to start off my day with the toughest, heavy compound movement first. Then I move on to the easier exercises later, which typically work well with lower weights and at higher rep ranges. Question for you guys, what program do you want to see me cover next? Let me know in the comments below. All right, now that you've seen the program, let's talk about the weekly layout. Here's my preferred setup. We start off with chest and abs, then back, rest day, shoulders and calves, arms, legs, and rest. Here's why I set it up this way. First of all, you want to spread out your rest days as much as possible, and this is to even out your fatigue distribution. That is, you'll get the most out of your rest days so you can get the best productivity across all of your workouts in aggregate. Next, notice that my heavy leg movements tend to come after upper body training. Our deadlifts on back day and then our leg day come after our upper body training. If you're really fatigued after a tough leg day, you're more likely to be impacted on the workouts the day after. So it's nice that we're able to have a rest day after our toughest sessions of the week. Next, when setting up a bro split, I think one of the most important considerations is to try to split up your direct and indirect training for each muscle group as much as possible. I mentioned that in a bro split, each muscle group gets trained directly only once per week. However, depending on your exercise selection, a lot of muscle groups will get trained indirectly through another muscle group's training. For example, on back day, we're counting deadlifts as a back movement, but they indirectly train the legs as well. Our triceps get trained 3 times per week since they're involved indirectly in your chest and shoulder pressing movements. Biceps also get trained twice per week since they get trained indirectly on back day with your pulling movements. Also notice that your chest gets trained twice per week since I put close grip bench press on arm day as a tricep movement, which indirectly involves your chest. And you'll see that I've strategically laid out the days so that our indirect and direct training gets spread out as much as possible throughout the week. Finally, one thing to note about arm training, if your arms are involved indirectly in compound training with another muscle group, like in shoulders with pressing, I'd rather your arm day come after that day, because if you have sore triceps going into pressing or sore biceps going into pulling, you're more likely to impact those compound movements. Also notice that I tried to even out the amount of stress placed within each of these 2 segments. This is kind of a nuanced fatigue distribution point, but since we have 2 days in this segment and 3 days in this segment, I've placed our easiest upper body training days in this segment to balance out the fact that we have a tough leg day and 3 days consecutive. Let's talk about the pros and cons of the bro split. You'll see that I like to talk down on the bro split most of the time, and this is because of the frequency issue. However, there are also a few unique benefits of this kind of training. First of all, and I think probably the main benefit of a body part split, when you have low frequencies, it allows you to train with high intensities. This works well for people who really like to train to failure and use a lot of beyond failure techniques like drop sets, force reps, etc. This kind of training typically generates a lot of soreness, and it takes time to recover from that. For people who like to train this way, if you try and use higher frequencies, you might actually run into chronic overuse issues. I'll note that a lot of people fall into this category just because they don't know how to modulate their training intensity. If you have difficulty auto-regulating, that is modifying your workout on the fly depending on how you're feeling, you're more likely to push to those extreme degrees of soreness. While I typically recommend a slightly higher volume, higher frequency approach, I do think that this style of training can be beneficial for certain people. It's something that you'll have to figure out for yourself though. Next pro of the bro split is that you have a high focus on each muscle group. A lot of people like having that really single-minded focus of knowing that they're going to just go into the gym to smash their arms. And for some people, this is mentally easier. Finally, with the bro split, you get great pumps. Out of all the programs, the bro split is the one where you have the most number of sets for each muscle group in one day. And this means that you're driving a lot of blood into those muscles. Our 3 main drivers of hypertrophy are mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and damage. And the pump is basically targeting that metabolic stress pathway. I'll note that this pathway is less important than mechanical tension, which is our main driver. But this could be something to consider, plus some people just really like getting that big pump. Okay, let's talk about the disadvantages of the body part split. First of all, with the body part split, this does not scale well with higher volumes. The main advantage with higher frequency programs is that when you scale up your volumes, you will preserve the productivity of each of your sets. This doesn't apply so much in a lower volume program, but imagine you were trying to do 20 sets of back and you had to do them all in one workout. By your final sets, you'll probably be really fatigued and you won't be able to push as many reps out for the same weight. Thus, you're accumulating less volume across the week in total. If you split up those 20 sets over 2 or 3 days, you'd be able to bring higher focus and freshness to each of those sets and perform more volume across the week. Thus, you would generate more tension and probably more hypertrophy. I typically recommend not going beyond about 8 to 10 sets for one muscle group within one session. You'll see that with a low volume program like this, we're basically just pushing that limit a little bit. This isn't terrible in a low volume program like this, but you are going beyond this recommendation on a few muscle groups. Next, when you're training each muscle group once per week, you get less technical practice. This applies to the practice of complex movements. For example, if you're trying to build strength in the squat, as a beginner, you might want to squat more frequently. Also, I think there is some benefit to having more sessions where you practice the mind-muscle connection with each of your muscles. Developing mind-muscle connection is one of the major skill sets in bodybuilding, and I think it's important for you to start thinking about this. Next disadvantage of the body part split is that it's difficult to balance muscle groups. When you point blank assign one full day for each muscle group, you're basically assigning each of them an equal priority. Some muscle groups, however, are bigger and more complex than others. For example, the back typically requires more sets per week than the chest, and it can be tricky to balance out your weekly set volumes. Finally, with a bro split, you have poor fatigue distribution. This split is basically the worst of the bunch in terms of fatigue distribution. You have a really tough leg day and a much easier arm day. So all things considered, is the bro split one that you should follow? In general, I would recommend trying a split that gives you at least a twice per week frequency for each muscle group. However, if you'd like to train with low volumes and really high intensities and get really sore, or if this is just your favorite way to train and you wouldn't stay consistent otherwise, then I think this could be viable with some intelligent exercise selection. I just wanted to show you some of the programming considerations that you should have when setting up a bro split. So whatever allows you to continue training sustainably in the long term is going to be best. I will be sharing the full program as laid out as an Excel file in my Facebook group. So if you haven't already joined the group, find the link in the description below, join the group, and you can download the program for free. If you're looking for a 5-day training program, check out this video where I explain a beginner push-pull legs upper-lower split, which is a solid setup that incorporates a built-in twice per week frequency, at least for each muscle group. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.